The heavyweight division of the UFC is absolutely rancid. What the hell happened, man? It is a shallow, unexciting pile of slop, and this does not make any sense to me. Heavyweight should easily be the most enthralling weight class in the entire organization. Big dudes, every punch packed with dangerous potential. It should be like two kaijus fighting to the death and crashing into skyscrapers every time. Sometimes we get a blistering knockout here and there, sure, but 90% of the time it is seriously such a bore fest.
See anything he got? Yeah.
Regardless, this is not where Jairzinho Rozenstruik wants to be in this fight.
He's got a minute now on the ground.
One thing I'll give boxing over the UFC is the heavyweight picture over there is fucking awesome. Now more so than ever with the Saudi money forcing everyone to fight each other. Hell, even when they were ducking one another, it was still leagues better and way more engaging. Just off the top of my head, they got Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, Zhilei Zhang, Joseph Parker, Martin Bakoli, Jarrell Miller, Andy Ruiz, Filip Hrgovic, Deontay Wilder. I mean, need I say more? These dudes all come to bang, and lately this wonderful man has been pitting them against one another for our entertainment. Shit is real sweet right now.
Oh, left hook. Oh, and a right hand. And all of a sudden, Anderson is down for the first time in his career.
So why is heavyweight so god-awful over here in the UFC? Well, there are a few reasons. Reason number one is the standards over here seem to be lower, to say the least. In boxing, you need to have the frame, power, and physicality to succeed long-term up there with all those monsters. In the UFC, we have way too many fighters who should be at light heavyweight, and hell, a lot of them should probably be at middleweight, and they balloon themselves to be able to compete up with the big boys. It's like the complete opposite of every other division in the sport, where most fighters choose to cut a significant amount of weight to get into lighter divisions so they can have a size advantage, or in a lot of cases, they're basically forced to do this because everyone else does and they don't want to be undersized. The whole weight training element of the sport is kind of rough, and there's an argument that they maybe should hold weigh-ins on the morning of the fight, just so everyone fights at their natural weight and don't turn into ghouls in the process. But nevertheless, these fighters have to show a lot of discipline to pull this off on the regular. Cutting weight is literally half the job, not just fighting. So you look at these guys, which the MMA community passionately refers to as the blobs, and you start to wonder if they have their heads in the game. I'm well aware I sound like a star-studded asshole for saying that, but speaking as a fan of the sport, it's truly hard to watch these fighters duke it out sometimes. Some of them are able to carry the extra weight well and somehow still have good conditioning, but many of them gas out pretty quickly. You'd also expect there to be a slew of knockouts in the heaviest weight class with the big sluggers, but this isn't really the case, honestly. At least not as much as it should be. Issue number two is this division is incredibly shallow. Part of what spurred this topic to the forefront of my brain is the news that they cut two heavyweights after the Adesanya versus Imavov card wrapped up. That being Jamal Pogues, who kinda got robbed by the judges a little bit, and someone who's honestly been a fixture of this division for years at this point in Jairzinho Rozenstruik. The fuck? Why'd they get rid of him? I know I said in my prediction video for that card that Biggie Boy was kind of the punching bag with the elites, never quite being able to crack into the top echelon, but he was good enough to stick around in the rankings at least. He certainly deserved to keep a spot over fucking Tai Tuivasa, who's somehow still ranked in the top 10. This is something the UFC's been doing a lot lately. Rodrigo Nascimento has the main event against Derek Lewis last year. He's toast. Goodbye. Remember the two-story tall Taekwondo Goliath Rebellis to Spain? Yeah, 2 losses and his ass is kicked at the curb. Alexander Romanov? Get lost, fatty. Jesus Christ, slow down, guys. I know the fighters are kind of sucking shit, but we only have so many to pick from. At this point, we have like 30-something of the big guys. There are only about like 20 people outside of the rankings. Can we please stop cutting fighters if we're not going to replace them? Even when you get into the rankings, things are pretty sour. We have a very much disputed champ in John Jones, who just got done defending his belt against the carcass of Stipe Miocic, and refuses to fight his interim champ, Tom Aspinall, unless Dana White gives him $1 million. Then we got Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, and Jailton Almeida creeping up behind them. It's the general consensus that the top 5 is pretty good and everything else beneath it is kind of ass. But to me, these days, the top 5 is a bunch of balls. Cyril Gane just won a robbery decision against Volkov, which means both fighters are going exactly nowhere. Gane doesn't deserve a title shot off a bullshit decision, and Volkov's momentum that he was racking up has been completely ruined. Pavlovich just bounced back from a 2-fight skid with a truly diabolical fight against Rozenstruik recently. So the once scary-ass Russian power-punching monster is just kind of whatever now. Curtis Blades just fought Aspinall for the interim belt and got starched. We do have Jailton Almeida coming up with a couple finishes, so I guess he's an outlier. But as you can see, shit is just a mess. Behind them, you have Sergey Spivak and Marcin Tybura, who are basically both the same person. A pair of talented grapplers who get beat by everyone Yawn. Then there's Derek Lewis, who gets beat by everyone too, and occasionally knocks out an up-and-comer. Derek Lewis is always fun, I guess. Then you have Tai Tuivasa on a 5-fight loss streak at number 10, getting training camps in at Planet Fitness. Then we got Shamil Gaziev, who unironically has more hype than any other prospect coming up, and honestly, some of the contenders in the rankings, just due to the memes surrounding him alone. And to his credit, he did just get a first-round KO. Waldo Cortez Acosta is boring. He is drying paint, and he only really has a ranking because of a grapple heavy win over Rebellis de Spain, who got cut recently. Then we have Mick Parkin, whose claim to fame is training with Tom Aspinall. He's got some hype to his name, I guess, but Also, we're grasping at straws here if Mick Parkin is something to get excited about. And then at the bottom of the rankings, we got Dontel Mays and Jonata Denise, who are literally only here because Rosenstrike got the boot. Because there are so few fighters, everyone's already fucking fought each other, multiple times in some cases. Outside of the much anticipated unification match between Jones and Aspinall, does anything really stick out as being interesting? Cyril Gane will get grappled to death by both champs. Pavlovich looks like a husk. Blades just challenged Aspinall and got knocked out. Volkov's been looking good but can't fight for a title coming off a loss, and he already fought Aspinall a couple years ago and got destroyed. The only matchup that might actually be interesting is Almeida versus either Jones or Aspinall. Who would have fucking thought we'd be saying that? But besides that, who do you give a title shot in this division? There aren't even any prospects on the fringe of the rankings either. UFC 312 is the debut of a 6'8" Taliesin Teixeira taking on Justin Tafa. I'm a bit of a Tafa fan, I will admit. And we'll see how that goes. There's something, I guess. God knows this division needs some juice. And it sucks because the heavyweight division used to be pretty damn good back in the day. I'd say it was at its highest profile around the time that Brock Lesnar shocked the world when he became champ, but it really hit its stride in the 2010s. We had Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier, Alistair Overeem, Fabricio Verdum, Bigfoot Silva, JDS, Stefan Struve, Andrei Arlovsky, and my personal favorite, Cain Velasquez. When these guys were knocking each other's skulls around, heavyweight was in a pretty damn good place. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. So I've been doing a whole lot of bitching and complaining in this video without a hint of any answers. How do we fix this division? Clearly, if the UFC had some heavyweight talent outside the promotion that were trying to make their big break, they'd call them in. I don't think it's for a lack of trying. What I think we need to do is have all of the biggest light heavyweights move up and try their luck. You've seen otherwise mid fighters at 205 like Kennedy and Nzechukwu go up and have some decent success with the skill and speed advantage. You got others like Johnny Walker, Jimmy Crude, Alexander Rakic, who are absolute fucking units. What's stopping them from going up and mopping the floor with these blobs and easily taking spaces in the rankings? I think your average light heavyweight is leagues better than even some of the ranked fighters at heavyweight and could pose some serious issues. I think it would behoove the UFC to broach this idea with a few of them to see if they could spice some things up a bit. Not to the degree that it would thin out 205 in the process too much, but just let's share the wealth a little. Anyways, I hope this division can recover. I hope we can do the same thing the light heavyweight's been doing with the introduction of Alex Pereira as champ. Something like that in the near future. I hope in a couple years we can look back on this era as nothing more than a brief dark patch. And of course,